Sabrina. So today we are going to do our first episode of travel. So before we get started, I wanted to say that yes, I'm still getting a handle on what exactly this YouTube channel is going to be about, but I've kind of narrowed it down to finances because everything that I talk about has to do with finances, whether it's travel, the surrogacy, investing, all of the things that I talk about, they come down to finances and how I'm managing my finances to make sure that I am able to retire in the next 5 years. So that's kind of what the theme of everything that is going to be on this channel. So today we're going to talk about travel and how to travel cheap. So one thing that I will say that I think that I'm pretty good at is finding cheap tickets. So it's not easy, and one thing that you have to keep in mind is that you need to be flexible. So today we're going to talk about being flexible and what to remember when looking for cheap tickets, the cons, which there are a few cons to finding cheap tickets, and my experiences along with a few examples that I'll show you. So let's get started with flexibility. So you have to be open to times and dates of travel. So the dates, it's really hard for somebody who has a 9-to-5 job and they get 2 weeks off for their vacation to be like, oh, well, the first day of my vacation, I want to leave that morning and then I want to get back like the night of my last day. That's not gonna get you a cheap ticket. So you have to be open to time frames, especially within a week. So maybe a ticket is much cheaper on a Monday than it would be on a Friday or Saturday. Things like that you have to keep in mind. And also with times. So in my experiences, I'll tell you in this video that I've gotten to destinations at very weird and awkward times, even when going to places in different countries. So that's something that you're gonna have to be aware of and make sure that you're comfortable with. So we'll talk about my experience getting to China at a very awkward time of the day in a little bit. But the third way that you need to be flexible is that you have to make sure of is when putting your cities into flying out of and flying into, you have to make sure you put the specific city. So if I just put the state of New York, I use Google Flights. If you put in Google Flights the state of New York, it's not going to give you the different prices for different days on the calendar. It's just going to give you the price that you click on. So we'll go over that when I show you some examples, but you have to make sure that you put the specific city so it gives you as much detail as possible. And then the final one, check if one-way tickets are cheaper than round-trip tickets. This is not always the case, but it's good to check to see if you can get 2 one-way tickets cheaper than you can get a round-trip ticket, because sometimes that is the case. So now some cons that I have to mention. The first con is it might take longer to get to your destination than another ticket that might be a traditional price would be. So for example, we recently went from Mississippi to, our end destination was Salt Lake City, Utah, but we went from Mississippi to Charleston, North Carolina, and then we went from there to Salt Lake City, Utah. So that pretty much took us like over 12 hours along with layovers to get to our destination. Granted, some people might say that is crazy, that is wasting your time, but we like travel days, so that doesn't really bother us too much. And the fact that we're getting it at such a cheap price, like that's always a bonus too. So that doesn't really bother us, but you have to determine whether that bothers you or not. And then you might arrive at not the best of times, as I mentioned before. So in my experiences, I'll give you the one from China, for example. We left in the morning of our first travel day, and then we didn't get there until the following midnight of our second travel day because of time differences and things like that. But I'm sure some people watching this would not be comfortable going to a foreign country they've never been before with nobody there waiting to pick you up and not speaking the language with a 5-year-old child. So I get that might not be the best scenario for certain people, but for me, like I'm very secure in myself and kind of just like figuring it out as I go. So it really wasn't a bother to me. Like, we found a taxi and we got in the taxi. We showed them the address of the hotel that we had booked, and we just went there. So that wasn't too big of a problem, but just keep that in mind, that that might be an issue for some people. So then another one is when we went to the Dominican Republic. So we went from Mexico to the Dominican Republic, and when we got there, it was about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and we had a Airbnb booked for the next day at around, I don't know, 2 or 3, and so we couldn't leave the airport until when did we leave the airport? I think when it got light outside and the buses started running, then we left the airport. But yeah, so we were just at the airport for about, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours, and we couldn't really go anywhere or do anything. I speak a little bit of Spanish, but I mean, no transportation was running during that time. And I even tried to get Uber and Lyft, and there was none running during that time. So we just like found a little corner on the outside of the airport, and we just like slept there for like a few hours, me waking up like every 20 minutes. But yeah, so those are things that you have to consider too. Make sure that you have transportation when you first get to the airport, or make sure that you kind of know what's going to happen once you get to the airport, especially knowing that the time might be not the best of times. So I'm just the kind of person that I go with the flow, and so I know some people are not like that, especially with kids, so that might be a little bit of a stress to you if that's not how you like to do things. And then the third example that I have is not actually in regards to planes, but I thought that I'd include this because it's kind of a drastic situation that we decided to do, and it was a great experience, but I wouldn't do it again. I think it's great for me and Safari to have had this experience. But we decided when we were moving to Mexico that we were going to take a Greyhound from California to Mexico. So unfortunately, the route of the Greyhound didn't go from California to Mexico. It went from California all the way down through Texas into Mexico. So it was like about a 3-day trip. And yeah, it was a little intense. There's a lady that was sitting next to us for like at least a day, like not directly next to us, but like close by in the bus, that had just gotten out of jail or prison, and she'd been in prison for like 17 years, so who knows what she did. But yeah, it was a little intense. So we do different things like that just to like experiment, you know, like it's not like I'm over here like, oh, like I gotta count my pennies, I don't have enough for this plane ticket. Like, no, like we have enough to not have to worry about that, but we just like experimenting with different ways of travel, different means of travel, those type of things. So now I'm going to give you examples of how to get cheap tickets, which I'm sure is what you're looking forward to. So let's go to Google Flights. So this is what Google Flights looks like. If you could see it. There we go. This is what Google Flights looks like. So we're going to do San Francisco to Honolulu. So you got to make sure that you put in, as I said before, Honolulu and not just Hawaii. So right here we can see that the ticket is for, oh, is it gonna? For $404. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Okay, so the ticket is showing for $404, and it just automatically generated the dates. I haven't put in the dates yet. So it automatically generated October 26th to October 30th. So now if we click right here on the first date, then it's going to show us options. And as you can see, it also shows the price under each date. You can kind of see, but it's blurry. So I can scroll down here and I can see, it gave me $404 for the round trip ticket from the 26th to the 30th. However, I can go down here to November 1st to November 5th. And now my ticket is $266. So that's a significant difference in regards to price on those tickets. So you just have to make sure that you look at the time, the date to find the best ticket. So let's go to San Francisco to Paris, France. So it's already keeping the November 1st to the November 5th that I had for the previous one. So it's showing $983 round trip. Oh, here's one, $630 round trip. So that might be our cheapest option right there. The one in green, $630. So let's go up here and click on the dates and see if we can get anything cheaper. Yep, so here we go. We found one for $515. See the one in the green? And the green is going to show you that that's going to be the cheapest price. So $515 round trip to Paris. So not too bad. So let's try one more. Let's go to Johannesburg, South Africa. This is the one that I always look up. So if we're doing a round trip ticket, November 12th to the 17th. So the cheapest route is looking like $913. However, if we click on the date, then we can see if we go November 4th to November 9th, the cheapest ticket here is $808. So as you can see, it is a significant difference if you go into the date and you put the specific city that you're trying to go to, then it'll give you the different numbers, the different prices for each day that you leave. And so you can do that with one-way tickets, you can do that with round trip tickets, you can do that with multiple people, such as I just showed you with one person round trip ticket, but I would search for 2 people round trip or 2 people one way, depending on how long we were staying and what we were doing there. So those are some different tips and advice that I can give you for trying to get the best possible ticket. If you guys are looking for a specific ticket, please let me know down below in the comments and I will search it for you to see if I can find you a better price. So let me know which prices that you found and where you're going, and I'll try to look for the best ticket for you. So it was great seeing you guys again, and I'll see you tomorrow in our next episode. Bye. Make sure to like.